Hey there, welcome to the YouTube channel, and thank you for watching. Today we are just going to be having some off-the-cuff comments from myself about boundaries and self-interest. So, what exactly is a boundary and what is self-interest? They're very closely aligned, very closely aligned. With boundaries, it's essentially the edge of where your priorities stand. And there's a lot that goes into them. It's something where it's very similar to a house or a country or what have you, something where there's a defined edge. And now people can cross these edges and go, beyond their boundaries. They can kind of cinch up, close their boundaries. I was just thinking of this the other night. When I'm going to bed, I like the door closed, and even though my apartment door is locked, and the building itself is locked, and I'm in a safe town, in a safe country, I like to have that extra door, and kind of get all cozied in for the night. But then throughout the day, I'm out in society, walking around. So there's different points and times of the day where your boundaries can be in different situations where your boundaries can be more, I'm open to other people. I'm open to doing X, Y, Z at this time of day, this time of year. And then it's perfectly normal for them to oscillate. But in that same sentence, having oscillating like that isn't necessarily the same thing as permeability and or rigidity. That's kind of two more important aspects about boundaries. Normally when they come up with human experiences and such, it's often related to either work, obligations at work, and responsibilities between two or more people, whether that's your friends, family, work colleagues, bosses, etc. And there are boundaries in terms of things that aren't social in nature. You might have a personal boundary where you're going to respect your time and go to bed at 9 o'clock. So we can go through lots of examples with this, but really what these boundaries are an edge to where you have identified what you prioritize, what you value, and beyond the other side of the boundary are things that you're much less inclined to do for that specific circumstance, most of the time. And it's somewhat of a we've done a video on principles and values before, where it's value like being honest, and how you might just easily follow that rule without having to put a lot of thought or effort into it. That's kind of thing. It's kind of inefficiency is these principles. It might be that you will not, you're not going to lie to people. You'll speak your mind, whether it's kind of negative to say to something or positive. So that's kind of what these boundaries are. That is what boundaries are. They're somewhat of a similar in essence, where it's you've deduced something that you want to do, like going to bed, or I'm not staying at work after 5 p.m. no matter what. If the boss says, yeah, can you stay an extra 20 minutes or half an hour? And so it's kind of this automatic decision where you've looked at it, you've looked at these circumstances, how you feel afterwards. Normally these boundaries aren't innate. They're created by people. They're created by you based on your preferences and priorities. And so you might have a boundary of you're not staying late after work after the dinger goes. And so the next time and you've established that through reflection and looking geez, like when I was doing that before, I was staying half an hour and then I was coming home late. And, after a month of that, my spouse was saying, oh, geez, we only have a couple hours after work to hang out. And like, we're really cutting into that pretty hard when you're talking about half an hour with only a couple hours. I miss you. Like, what's happening here? And you kind of were like, you noticed that you don't feel good. That's the, that's the thing with boundaries, with counseling, mental health. It's, what are your priorities? You might really love your job and your colleagues, and maybe you don't have somebody to go home to and spend time with, and so you really don't. Going home and making supper and watching TV isn't high on our priority list, so you might not have that boundary at all. It's completely dependent on you and what brings you satisfaction. But it's with these boundaries, generally they get set up where there's been some type of negative experience in the past, and you say, okay, I'm going to make a rule for myself. And they can be quite rigid, they can be permeable, they can oscillate at times. But I don't stay after work at 5 p.m. That's my boundary. That's the boundary in between, like quite literally the boundary between my work life and my personal life. I don't let them merge. I'm not saying that personally. Just for example here, that's the boundary where that part of my priorities, that's where they drop off, and I then am able to uptake and involve myself in other priorities in my life. Now there's all sorts of reasons that these can be extremely rigid, like a hard line in the sand at 5 o'clock and almost work to rule, and I'm not working, I'm punching out at 5 o'clock and that's it. And then there can be aspects of it where it's permeable, where maybe you're working on some big project and the team really needs your help this week. It's not every single day they're asking you to stay, but the team needs you, and and that's kind of bumping up against, okay, like maybe you love your colleagues, you really get along well, you see yourself working there for multiple years, and there's a sense of, okay, I don't want to let them down. It's just this time I'll work an extra half hour, an hour today, and that's it. But then after that, if this lasts long term for weeks and months, then that's a no-go for me. So there can certainly be flexibility there, but the trade-off of the boundary is where you're hopefully allowing that permeability and or staunch rigidness with intention. And that's intention comes up a lot in work with myself, but really understanding why you are establishing the boundary in the first place, why you're allowing some flexibility or permeability into it, why are you very staunchly rigid with it. Maybe the last time that happened, there was a big project, and a month went by where it was, it's only half an hour, don't let the team down, and there's guilt tripping involved, or almost a little bit of extortion, like, we're good team players, work extra, and if you're not a good team player, like, you got your performance review coming up in 6 months, and you're really hoping to get that raise, right? Like, these things happen. But then then it gets into am I going to go get a new job? Am I going to go find a new group of friends? If they're if they expect me to go out every single Saturday night and party till the crack of dawn, and you're like, okay, like, this is fun once in a while, it's great fun, but I need some Saturdays to myself or to do other things, and you establish that boundary, and it's like, okay, I'll come out occasionally with you once a month or a couple times a month or what have you. You establish that, you communicate it, you hold firm to it. But then if they're getting peeved off with you and guilt trip you or what have you. I'm trying to think where I'm going with this really, but it's things where you can have it as permeable. You can say to them, I'm only coming out once a month from now on. And then, find yourself in 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, okay, I'm going back 2 times a month, 3 times a month, right back to the similar situation you were in. But it's like, why did you feel the need to establish that boundary in the first place? What was the motivating or animating force behind that? Was it that you really, you're getting older and it takes 2 or 3 days to recover from a night of heavy drinking, and you don't like this just reset every week and you're feeling great by next Saturday and then resetting again. That's a very common pattern with some people with alcohol. So you established the boundary. You thought that might be a good idea at the start, and okay, I'm only going out once a month. Well, then maybe you stick to that for a month. Then you realize you really miss your friends, and you go out, twice a month, and you adjust the boundary. You add a little bit more permeability in before it kind of re-solidifies. This is perfectly acceptable. It's perfectly normal. I suppose what is perfect and what is normal, but the boundary, again, I can't stress this enough, but it comes up again and again when you are feeling dissatisfied with an outcome, and you've noticed that the pattern of when that arises, it's this oscillating routine that I have of feeling good and feeling crappy. It's missing time out with my significant other and just not feeling as connected. There's umpteen examples, and it's like, okay, how do you correct that? You might not even have to stay. You might be able to stay late at work and then look elsewhere if you maybe really love your colleagues and your spouse, and you're like, okay, where else can I adjust my schedule that would satisfy? Is it every weekend we now plan a 2-hour activity with just the two of us? And no matter what, no matter who messages me or what's going on, I make sure to do something with my partner every weekend. And that's kind of a boundary, in and of itself, just a set of rules to follow that help make decisions. Really, it helps streamline decisions, helps with planning, and they're based off of, okay, in the past I felt like I was neglecting my partner, or I was feeling more lonely despite them being there. They were we just weren't getting enough time together. And so what am I going to do about that going forward? What priorities am I going to set? So that's in essence what boundaries are. I have here written down self-interest. And so self-interest can often be confused with selfishness. But it's not. It's not. It's not selfish to prioritize yourself and to do things in life that you want to do. Now, there's people out there that might call you selfish. Like in the example, the friends that want to see you every single Saturday. And then they might, try and guilt trip you, or, oh, come on, like the whole lot of us are having less fun because you're not there. So come on, get out here. Like, you don't need to spend every Saturday with your partner, or that many Saturdays with your partner. Come on. But I think what you'll find is that in your life, the people who respect you and respect your decisions won't be the same people that will call you selfish for looking after yourself in ways that you want to or aspire to. And in fact, when you explain these boundaries, and that's the other thing too, when you set up a boundary, if there is pushback, which oftentimes there is, especially if things have been going one way for a while and these other people you're interacting with are used to you behaving in a certain way. And when you establish a boundary, there can be pushback, but doing your best to communicate that firmly but not rudely or crudely or harsh, just firm. Um, you know, I appreciate you asking me to stay after work. I understand it's important to the team and to get this project done on time, but sadly, my workday ends at 5. You know, there's different ways you can say it. Like, maybe this always happens when it got sprung up with 20 minutes left in the day. Can you stay? It's like next time that you want me to stay, give me a week's warning. Things like that. There can be negotiation with a boundary. Again, to your satisfaction, your willingness to participate in those negotiations. But this aspect of self-interest, like the people that you communicate that with, your good friends, and family, and people who understand you, who want the best for you. If you communicate a boundary to them, and why you're doing it, why it's important to you, I think you'll find more often than not, your friends and family will respect that, and they might have questions. They might try and jeer you on a little bit, and oh, come on, the old you would have came out every single Saturday night. But if they truly want the best for you, and you explain them your rationale, your reasons, I think more often than not you'll find that they will be understanding and supportive of your decision. And if not, and they're just continually over time ragging on you, or it's kind of not treating you very kindly for looking after yourself in a way that you've determined is best for yourself, then the question arises, are you gonna see those people as often anymore going forward if they make you feel that way? Or not that they make you feel that way, but they try to influence you in directions that you don't want to go down, either anymore or all the time. And that can just end up being quite annoying at times. So that's where it's not selfish, but those people are probably they might call you selfish with your time. It doesn't make it true, not in the slightest. I think if somebody was truly, like where people get misconstrued is that they think like selfishness is kind of putting others down at the cost of that person's embetterment, or getting ahead in some way. But where it's different, like self-interest, like you might be very interested in socializing with your friends and spending good time with them, doing good, high quality activities with them, high quality conversations. And so you're very self-interested in those things, and so you're able to participate in those with other people, almost from a selfish point, because you're self-interested in it. It doesn't make you selfish. I'm kind of losing my train of thought here with this one, but it doesn't make you selfish to prioritize yourself, and some people will say that it is, but those people tend to not necessarily care what's the best for you, and or respect that. Like when you're acting in a self-interested way, first it takes identifying like what's going on here, what values of mine aren't being met, how can I uphold those more in my life, how can I demonstrate those. It might be spending more time with friends and family. Well, you can't spend 100% of your time with both of those, so there has to be some prioritization at times and some give and take with both of those. But you can still have a very full, vibrant social life, while still juggling personal time, social time with friends and family, work, all these things. And it's normally when taken to the extremes is when people run into trouble. Someone might be called selfish if they spend all their time doing one thing. Like if someone's spending all their time at work, and they're not spending any time with their friends or their family, and they're just a workaholic. Their friends and family might start to think, geez, this person is, selfish. They're just out for money, for this job. That they don't care for us. And then they can well and all think that. And it might be true. It depends. You might be a workaholic, and you might be very, might pursue money strongly. But if you explain this to people, like, hey, like, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm putting my head in the sand for the next 3 months, and I'm gonna grind so I can get a raise, or finish up this project I've been working on. But hey, in 3 months, let's reach out and have some fun. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It might be extremely important for you to do that, or it might not be the case. It might be that, look, I'm here at work, and we're really tight on finances right now, and I need to pull 60, 70-hour work weeks to make ends meet and to get us out of some really bad debt we found ourselves into. I'm sorry, but my priority right now is making money, with the underpinning that is to have a good quality life for yourself or your family, or to be able to afford to go out and do things with your friends and family. But right now, the priorities need to shift. And so, selfishness often comes into, there's either a lack of, it's almost not like a real thing, it's something where there's a miscommunication somewhere, and the people who aren't going to understand or appreciate your communication, they might be calling you selfish, but it doesn't make you selfish. Let me see here, what else? I have a few. Yeah, it's really just, I have a little bit here, like sometimes with boundaries and self-interest, so I got this little thing here, how healthy boundaries actually enhance relationships with other people. How they work really is that, when you've sat down and prioritized your day, your weeks, your months, rules for your life, how you want to live your life, these things, it allows you to find time in your schedule and conserve your energy for everything that you prioritize. So, some people might not like it that they find themselves lower on your priority list. Too bad. That's how it is. Are you satisfied with that, with the outcome? That's really what the point of the boundaries are. The people complaining that you're only chalked away one afternoon a month for spending time with that individual, or doing that activity, or what have you. It's it's your life. You have to go out there and live it how you want, and that's when there's pushback, and people think, oh, you're being selfish. It's well, sorry you didn't make the cut as high on the priority list as you would like. But setting these boundaries allows for us to have healthier, more fulfilling relationships and participate in life to the fullest. There's a lot of ways to live life and a lot of things to do in life. And, it's getting colder out here. Ski season's coming up. Hunting season's coming up. There's certain things where at certain times of the year you can only participate in skiing and hunting in the fall and winter. So for this season, it's, maybe they get a little bit of a bump over the, classic going out on a Saturday night to bars or what have you. And but then I can, and this is personal, but then it's okay, then all year when it's the summer and the spring, when there's no skiing or hunting, I can kind of reflect, oh, that was such a great trip. I'm glad I went out skiing, 4 or 5 times this past year, and really prioritize that. Kind of thinking back to that throughout the whole year, and I get that benefit because I prioritized it. I didn't just get a text and say, yeah, okay, no, I don't need to go and do those things this weekend. No, I'll do what you want to do. Or yeah, we always do this Saturdays. Let's go do that thing. Um, and so like where it gets healthy is like when you're enjoying yourself, when you're participating in life in ways that you want to, then you're able to show up. In that example with the 2 weekends a month instead of four with friends. It's like when you show up there, it's like you're there, not because it's just habit or because you feel obliged to, because you always do it. It's like, okay, I've chosen to be here. I'm being intentional with my time. I've put in the work the past 2 weeks or the past month, and I'm feeling great. I've accomplished XYZ other goals. Now I get to show up with my friends. Instead of a week going by, it's like, well, what do you do this week? It's like, I get to say everything that went on in the past 2 weeks, and it's exciting and hear all the things that they did, and you're there in the moment and looking forward to it, and so it doesn't like take away from your ability. Like you can almost think of it as like diluting things. I don't know if you have I won't say that example, but I might as well. Nothing like if you got a jar of jam and a tablespoon of shit, and you add a tablespoon of shit to the jam, then you got a whole jar of shit. Yeah, I don't know if that one really. I don't know if that one really applies here, but with the boundaries, it allows you to segment your time, do everything you'd want to do. You still get to have conversations. You get to participate in the activities you want to do. You can encourage your other friends as well. Like maybe a few of them in that group were also thinking to themselves, geez, like it's every Saturday night, but if I don't, if I don't show up, I'm letting other people down. But maybe they wanted to go to yoga or, beer league hockey, or do like a couple weekend staycations once or twice a month, and they felt that they couldn't do that up until then. And so it kind of gives them an opportunity as well to find some independence. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, there's like rigidness and permeability. I've already kind of talked about that. That's really it for this video, honestly. There's I don't know if I think I rambled a lot in this one. I'll try to do a bit. No, I'm not going to say I'm going to do better at that. That's just how I am. But yeah, when it comes to boundaries, really just think of them as like they're basically the same as what are your priorities and what rules you're going to make in your life about how to approach certain situations. Really look for patterns where, like with the work thing or the going out with friends thing, really use the emotion as the signal that something's off here. You're feeling anxious for days after a heavy night of drinking, and you're just kind of sick of it. It's been 6 months of this going to the same bar. Maybe it's even getting a bit boring. You don't even look forward to it anymore. You just do it because you got nothing else planned. Look for where your emotions are signaling, hey, I'm not really satisfied here. This isn't interesting. It's I feel kind of crappy after this specific thing happens. It's okay. What can I do about it? And is it a communication thing? Is it a behavior like I'm not staying after work after 5? Is it something with your thoughts? Like every time you maybe it's every time you step on the scale, you feel real rotten about yourself, and you're doing that every day. It's like, okay, I'm only going to step on there once a week or once a month. There's a whole lot of other, like, you can look at are those thoughts true? Are they, there's a lot of ways you can take these things. But look for emotional indicators where you're not satisfied. see what you can do about them, and then consider setting up a boundary. Personally, like erring on the side of rigidness or permeability right off the bat, I mean, it depends, like anything, it depends. I would personally tilt, especially if it's something that's been going on for a long time. If it's something that you're new to, like you've just signed up for beer league hockey, and every Friday night people go to the bar after for drinks or something. I might, if it's something new, I might err on the side of being a bit more permeable and flexible. See how it goes, see how you feel with a new experience. Kind of adjust in real time, week by week. Okay, this is a thing. I didn't know that everybody went out Friday nights after drinking. Okay, maybe it's great fun. Maybe there's other games on like Wednesday nights, and it's like, okay, I'll alternate Wednesday and Friday night games, and that way don't feel obliged to go out or something. Who knows? We can talk endlessly about fake or make-believe circumstances, but with things that are new or novel to you, I would err with some permeability and flexibility. But if something has been really taking away from your quality of life long term, I would likely err on being quite rigid and firm and drawing the line in the sand and sticking to that. I'm not going to even give like a defined period of time, but sticking with that. This thing's been bothering you for so long, you've thought about it. Okay, this is what I can try and do. Okay, I will implement this, and give it a good couple weeks or a month to soak in and see, okay, this is working, this is not working. Of course, if you do something like at work and say, I'm not working after 5, and your manager says, oh yes you are, or you can get a new job, well, it might be time, that's time to decide for yourself. Do I get a new job? Do I quit on the spot? Do I begrudgingly stay after 5, but then start looking out for new jobs? That's because you can set boundaries all you want. If people won't respect them, especially people in positions of authority or control over you in certain situations, that can make it more difficult. But then, but you still have the power to choose. You have the choice to find a new job, to find someone that will respect that type of boundary that you have, that section or bisection between your personal and your work life. And good luck setting it up. They're worthwhile to set up and to do intentionally, and they can just allow you to participate in life in all the ways that you want to or look forward to. And that sounds a lot more fulfilling to me than being tossed around by the whims of other people and circumstances, and I'm doing this because so and so wants me to do it, or because I'm obliged to do this. It's like, okay, no, I've set aside this time for this, and that's when that is done, and there's a beginning and an end point to that in a given day, in a given week, because I really value sleep, and so my boundaries at 8 or 9 o'clock, and I'm gonna keep rambling, but thank you for watching, and until next time.